So how's it going, motherfuckers? Let's talk a little bit about the climate change debate. Uh, and, you know, this debate's been going on for quite some time. Climate change, which grew out of global warming, and global warming grew out of the greenhouse effect. And we have been hearing of, these extremist environmentalists for quite some time talk up climate change, talk it up, try to misconstrue facts in order to fit a particular agenda. And so the thing is, what I'm noticing from the debate nowadays is that they're trying to do damage control, trying to make this thing seem more important than what it is. To try to get this cause out there, to try to rush it out, to try to make it seem like an extreme problem. Most of these people, you've noticed, they're very out of touch with reality. They don't feel Islamic terrorism is a threat. They're always liberals. You notice that most conservatives are not really too concerned about climate change, and this is why many of them get labeled as deniers when none of them have actually said that they deny it. I've never heard a single conservative say that they are denying climate change. Climate change itself is a term, because if they have, they're stupid. I mean, there is climate change. We know that climate does change. It's changed for centuries. We had an ice age, for example. I mean, if you're not, if you don't believe that, then yeah, I'm not going to defend you. You're stupid. You're ignorant. You don't know. But if this thing about man-made climate change, now that we have a problem with, because you see, there's no concrete evidence to support that. And what I find very unusual, and I've noticed this with a recent debate on Tucker Carlson. If you haven't seen it, check it out. With Bill Nye the Science Guy, and they might be saying, you're somebody like Bill Nye, this guy who's on TV. I personally never watch him. I don't give a fuck about science. I don't know, a lot of people, I guess, wanted to watch Bill Nye back then to be, to try to act like they were smart. I was too busy watching Freakazoid and Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain to really care about Bill Nye the Science Guy. I didn't really care about him and his fucking science. It was a lot of weird things. I was like, this is school. I don't want to do things educational. I want to rot my brain. So, I didn't watch Bill Nye. And really noticed that the people who did watch Bill Nye were not really that much smart. They were just a bunch of dumb kids. I mean, really, they didn't seem any smarter than anybody else, really, in school. I guess they just wanted to brag to their friends, oh, I watch a show about science. I don't really understand it, but I watch it. Okay. Congratulations, you watched Bill Nye the Science Guy, but most people didn't. It's like, who cares about Bill Nye? There was so much other good shit on TV. Who really cared about that? This wimpy, nerdy dude on TV that talked about weird science experiments. If he was so great, wouldn't he be like a regular scientist? What are this guy's credentials anyway? Bill Nye, what is he? I don't know. If you ask me, he'd be more qualified to be a hot dog vendor or something. This guy does not come off as a scientist. Anyway, how do you feel about Bill Nye? He's debating Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson asks him a question right off the bat, right at the beginning of the interview. He asked the man to what degree, and he says it right from the start, that he is not denying that there is climate change. He talks about climate has changed for, centuries. It has happened. It is a natural thing, but he's very skeptical. Tucker Carlson is skeptical about this this claim of man-made climate change. But right away, Bill Nye starts with, "Oh, but you're denying it. You're a denier." He had once said, Bill Nye had actually said, that people who deny climate change should be thrown in jail. Very extreme. I don't know how serious he was. I'm not going to, really say that he probably might have regretted saying that later. He probably just might have become a little bit passionate talking about it, but it's bullshit. It's a struggle to stay relevant is basically what it is. He knows that he could get TV time, he could get media attention if he talks about global warming. This is how it is, because it's extreme. Oh, the environment, California sinking into the sea. If we really press this issue further and further, nobody wants to see how to make a fucking tornado with 2 soda bottles. Everyone knows how to do that. So that stuff that he was selling during the 90s isn't going to sell today. But climate change, that's popular. Leonardo DiCaprio's talking about it, and a whole bunch of other liberal loonies in Hollywood. So this is what people want to talk about. So this is what Bill Nye is going to talk about. He wants to stay relevant, so he's got to talk, what all the cool hipsters are talking about in Hollywood. So this is what he's going to be currently talking about. But Tucker Carlson asked the man, to what degree is global warming man-made? 100%, 80%? Science has a lot to do with math. I'm not very good at math. I don't really particularly like numbers. But, if they're informative to the world we're living in, then yeah, give me some numbers. Give me some statistics. I want to know. Is it, and yes, is it 100%? Is all of it contribute? Is all of climate change, which is a natural occurrence, even when man didn't exist yet, human beings, climate change still happened? So he said, that we are rapidly progressing climate change, but no studies, no statistics or anything to back this up. It's like, here's the claim. Well, okay, it's like, how are you getting this information? And what are we specifically doing? We've heard talk of, well, that was more with global warming with the carbon emissions, and, we all knew that was just a scam. See, this is the thing that people don't understand. No one's saying that climate change is, is not real. We know that it's real. No one ever said that maybe some people said it wasn't a real thing. But people are talking about this claim that man-made climate change, and that climate change is a threat, like it's some kind of big, scary, one-eyed monster that's like gonna chase after us, like it's an immediate threat. It really is not. Like I said, if you actually do look at the real statistics of like California sinking into the sea, the land mass is being chipped away at by like mere like half inches. And it's every couple of years. It's not an immediate threat. Maybe eventually it will be in a couple of 100 years. But when there's so many other threats going on in the world, and you've got a refugee crisis, and it's this big global threat, climate change kind of seems minimal. It's happening at such a slow rate. But then you've got this whole argument of this thing where it's radically happening. It's this thing that's happening at the speed of light, and there's not enough information to be provided to really prove this point. And all is it's just words from very aggressive, mean people that just like Bill Nye that are just trying to make others seem ignorant, and are talking about grapes not being as easy to grow as they were in the past, for wineries. And what I'm not getting here is, where are the statistics to prove any of this? They're just making claims that there's nothing to back them up. You're just making claims, willy-nilly, and I don't know, it's just, you're just hoping people are going to believe them. See, but here's my concern about it. You're scientists, you believe in science, they want to make conservatives seem like, they're just Bible-beating lunatics that are, not in touch with reality. They're anti-science. And the thing is, it's like, science is supposed to be about skepticism. And even a lot of scientists have even talked about, it's almost impossible to rule out God. Just a great majority of scientists have said this. But of course, liberals, like everything, it's a matter of convenience for them. They're going to choose to ignore dissenting voices. They're going to choose to ignore facts that that oppose their viewpoints. And there really are no facts in science. It's all about inferences and theories. And of course, the one thing that many people like to come back to, and this is the liberals, this is their secret weapon. You say anything against climate change, you question anything about their line of beliefs, like what they believe science to be. See, they've got it all made up. They have a set belief system, and nothing could ever change. It's evolution. We evolved from monkeys, and it's climate change is man-made. What we're doing to the environment is unspeakable, and we're going to drive California into the sea. The fucking wildfires are just gonna burn everybody up. We're going to be living in a fucking living inferno, basically. It's doomsday. It's Armageddon. It's like that guy who wrote the 2012 Armageddon book. It's just crazy, extremist conspiracy theories, and none of it's true, and we know it's not true. But the thing is, you question any of it, and they'll be like, oh, well, you're saying science is a theory, nothing is fact. Yeah, we say, okay, science is all about skepticism. It's all about, changing. We see this all the time. They talk about nutrition. Things change. They say certain fats are bad, certain fats are good, they're bad. You should have this, you shouldn't have that. Oh, we found this out, now you should have it again. Everything changes. We say like the study about eggs. They say that it raises our cholesterol. Then they say, no, actually, it's good cholesterol. You should have more eggs. It's like, where do you stand? Things change in science all the time. It's like, something we thought was good, it's bad, So, okay, but that's science. It changes. One scientist does a study. One scientist doesn't speak for another scientist. This guy thinks this. So you see, there's no way to really get any kind of concrete evidence on anything. But forget about all this and all the studies that have changed, and years and years of different scientists saying different things. No, it's like climate change. That's it. That is the end. The end of the argument. That is the end of the study. It exists. We don't have to have any numbers. We don't need to have any percentages. We don't need to have any specific examples. We want to ask the question. No, you can't. Do not question it, because if you do question it, you're going to be met with this famous little ditty. Well, you don't believe it. You also believe that the earth is flat, because that's also a scientific theory. Oh, so that's the classic. I can't begin to tell you how many people I've debated online. They use that line against me. What do you think, the earth is flat? No, I don't think the earth is flat. Okay, there's just certain things in science that are not as concrete as others. Okay, that one's pretty obvious. No one's ever fallen off the side of the earth. So we kind of do know that it's not flat. And, that's one of the more obvious things. But is climate change really that obvious? I don't know. I really haven't walked down the street and had a number of trees burst into flames all of a sudden. I don't see it. I'm still seeing snow during the winter. I'm still seeing regular climate. Yes, there's some unseasonably hot days. And yeah, because there is climate change, but I'm not seeing this crazy, aggressive climate that people are talking about that's just so overwhelming. They tried to sell this idea. Al Gore was trying to do his 2012 Armageddon movie and book when he came out with An Inconvenient Truth. And scientists proved that there was 11 inaccuracies in the movie, which was pretty much the whole movie because it was cut up into segments. So pretty much the whole movie was disproven. We were told that polar bears are dying, but polar bears are not dying. They're not extinct, and this is not true. And, it was an embarrassment, basically. Al Gore should never show his face in public again. Credit to Donald Trump for at least trying to talk to this guy, but come on. After you make a disgraceful film that's so untrue and so false and put out so much false information and had this alarmist mentality, people are going to take notice. This is the former vice president, the 2008 Democratic nominee for president. So people are going to take notice of this guy. Oh, this guy's putting out a big message here. He's putting out a movie, about something that seems very important. He's got to make this movie. Why is Al Gore making this movie? And so it garnered a lot of attention, and it was proved false. So I don't see why and so you notice you don't hear about global warming anymore. It's very, very similar to climate change. Pretty much the same idea, but it's more encompassing, right? But it still shares a lot of the same ideas of the global warming theories, the greenhouse effect theories. Global warming was more of an extremist view on the greenhouse effect, and then we see with climate change, it kind of just brings everything together, wraps it up in one neat alarmist package. But the thing is, no one's denying it. We know it's true. It's just the level that they're trying to sell it at. And like I said, it seems like a traveling salesman. It seems like a lot of bullshit. You're inviting this thought into your house, into your mind. You're looking at a lot of different perspectives on the fact that it's man-made, and there's just not enough there. And the thing is, when people are just simply not buying it, they because there's not enough information. If there's overwhelming information, then yes, but there just isn't. There's no numbers, and when confronted on it, no one seems to be able to produce these numbers and statistics, which are vital, because we need information in order to prove something true. So if it's not there, it cannot be proven true. We can make inferences, we can make theories, but the thing is, if there's not enough information, just simply cannot just accept it. I'm not going to accept something that just doesn't have enough facts to back it up. And the thing is why are these liberals and these environmental nutcases, why are they so hell-bent on selling this idea? Like, shouldn't they be happy that, that there is evidence to disprove that it's man-made? Why do they want to vilify man so much, and why do they want to make it such a personal thing? Why do they need to be so accusatory all the time and point fingers and make it like such a big issue? Shouldn't they, be happy that maybe it might not be as big of an issue as they're making it out to be? Why are they so desperate to prove it to be so? I don't know what it is. There's obviously something behind it. They still want that fucking carbon tax like there's nobody's business. There's, obviously there's a lot of lobbyists for this. That people are making money off these different programs, these non-profit organizations. So we all know that climate change, it's a business. People are going to try to profit off of it. And like I said, people are going to try to make a name off of it. Bill Nye, the science guy, is trying to make a name, once again for himself, because he's been irrelevant for like over a decade. He hasn't had a show in a long time. So, he's going to try to, what's the most popular thing in science, or the thing that at least liberals want it to be the most popular thing in science? And that's climate change. So that's what he's going to talk about. But the thing is, he's not a real scientist, so we don't really know a whole lot about it. But he's the most vocal thanks to his celebrity. But as we can see, he's not a very good representative to talk about this from the left-wing loony side of things. We have enough of this nonsense already. We've had false information pouring out from everybody's asshole for the past decade about this. It's phony business is basically what it is. We all know about climate change, but they're trying to create a different avenue for climate change where, we could hold people responsible. We could tax people. There's an excuse to have more programs. It's always an excuse. They make things out of thin air. This is not science. It's wizardry. It's magic. We're just making things up as we go along. And that's really, you're compromising science there. You're really giving science a bad name. Just like the media is giving news a bad name. We can't trust them. Can't trust these government scientists. Can't trust anybody because there's too many special interests. They're not even providing any facts. They're not providing us with any information. They're just like, okay, here you go. Here's an idea. And this is it. This is the facts. And that's not the way science works. I'm sorry. Like I said, these things get studied. They get debated. Nothing is fact in science. Nothing is be-all, end-all. Things are looked at for years. There's no open shut cases. This is not a court case. This is science. No one, slams a gavel down and they shut it off and it's never to be talked about again. No, that's not how science works. I know a lot of you left-wing, man-made climate change proponents are going to, want to sell that idea that, that it's open and shut case. There's no room for debate. I'm sorry, there's room for debate on everything. Just like how you like to debate that, Trump is not the president. You want to talk about popular votes, and you want to talk about this, and you want to talk about that. Nothing's ever over. Obviously, it's not. There's no conversation that's going to be completely shut down. That's why I don't believe when liberals talk about conversation. Oh, let's have a conversation. You don't know how to have a conversation. If you didn't know how to have a conversation, we would be having one right now. But you're shutting down every single avenue of speech because you're really, even though you talk about free speech, you're not for free speech. All you want to do is basically just shout the other person down so you seem like the most dominant. Because, let's face it, liberals are not the most alpha. They're not the most testosterone fueled. So I guess they feel good about themselves when they have those brief moments of masculinity where they are able to shout somebody down. What basically they do is in debate, they shout over people. They call you ignorant. They call you just like a religious nutcase. All of a sudden, everybody is just considered to be a Bible-beating bastard because they don't believe in this so-called science. I'm sorry, but certain people just don't buy certain ideas that don't have enough facts to back them up. If there's no numbers and there's no statistics to back something up, I'm sorry, you're not going to really get a 100% agreement on it. You're going to be able to fool some people because some people are just in shock and awe of science, like everything scientific has got to be true, and really these people are just uninformed. They don't realize how science works. That there's no concrete facts. There's most of the time, it's like I said, you could use your little example of how the world is not flat. But it's only going to get you so far, because once you move past those talking points and that one little jab, your argument's going to fall apart because you're not going to be able to provide the proper statistics to have the debate. You're not going to be able to fully explain yourself. And I'm telling you, I don't know what it is, if liberals don't possess the proper linguistic skills or what it is, but they have a very, very shitty time of explaining themselves. And they always loop back around. They repeat stuff that about every other single person has said before them. It always comes back to the same thing. It's the talking points. It's almost like they're reading off of a script and they've memorized it, and it's being said time and time again. That's why you have people saying that it's bullshit. But no one is saying that the Ice Age didn't happen. There's no climate change deniers. I think everybody knows, despite their beliefs, that there have been changes in climate over the years, and over the decades, over the centuries, whatever you want to say, over the millenniums. I mean, the thing is, no one is saying that that there's nothing there. We're just saying the man-made factor is up for debate. Because, like I said, there's not enough evidence there, and no one seems to really be able to talk about it. There's little small examples. You can make little inferences and theories, and, this might be the reason. But that's all there is to it. They're just little theories, they're little observations, but nobody has any concrete evidence, and that's why no one's going to believe your arguments. And shouting people down, calling them ignorant, and acting like environmental Nazis is not going to be a way of getting people to be convinced and to take your argument seriously. You have to do a much better job at this. I mean, if you're trying to sell an idea, acting like a maniac and calling people ignorant at every turn because they want to ask questions. I've never seen this before. Science is all about inquiries, right? Asking questions to get answers so you can develop a hypothesis. These basic scientific principles, and you're vilified for asking questions. Like, how dare you? How dare you ask questions? See, the thing is, because when you ask questions, you're searching for answers. And if said person that you're asking questions from doesn't have those answers, well, they're going to go into panic mode. And they're going to, try to go through a certain level of damage control. And usually it turns out to be name calling and a lot of lies and things that are just not nice. So that's pretty much the whole MO for liberals when it comes to debating them. And I'm sure many people have found this one way or another, in their day-to-day lives. And usually if you go on the internet and you try to debate somebody, you'll even see it. Liberals end up fighting with themselves. They can't even agree with themselves. They'll hit like, when somebody gets a little jab in. But that's all they are all about, if you know, sort of a lot of liberals. They're all about one-liners. Like they're like the Arnold Schwarzeneggers of the internet, of Facebook comments. They get in one little line, everybody likes it. But then when the conservative or the opposing person comes in and challenges them, it always turns out to be name calling. Whenever somebody comes along with statistics or facts that point to a different avenue of thought that, kind of makes out what they've said to be a lie or untrue or false in some way, that is when they get really defensive and the name calling starts. And that's why so many people have such a negative opinion of liberals and left-wing people. Because, you see, we're not very good at having a debate. And you see, when it comes to human beings, discussion, talking, debating, it's kind of important. Kind of a principle of communication. It's a very important avenue of thought. In order to learn, you have to be able to listen to others and converse and be able to ask questions and get answers. See, but they're very opposed to that because they have a set belief system. Challenge it, and it's going to be your ass, basically. So, yeah, there you go, guys. So, once again, I know a lot of people are going to have a problem with the video, are going to have a problem with things I've said, but let me state it once again. For anybody who has a problem here about what I said. Never once did I say that climate change was a hoax. Was it a lie? No. You can do whatever you want to take away from this video, but climate change is real. I believe in it. It is a natural occurrence. Is it man-made? Perhaps. I don't want to rule it out. But it is starting to be ruled out in my mind because, when I see a bunch of lunatics trying so desperately to try to sell an idea that's being disproven time and time again because there's just not enough evidence and there's a lot of crazy things being said and a lot of crazy theories being thrown around, it starts to be unattractive. So we start to not really care about that because we see that this is where the loonies hang out. It's like a bad neighborhood, bad neighborhood of thought. So we don't really like to touch climate change that much. If it's not an immediate threat, we're not really seeing a lot of supportive evidence for this. We're not really going to take it that seriously. So you guys need to really try to strengthen your arguments if you're going to try to sell this idea of man-made global warming. Do a better job at, trying to argue this point and try to make it seem like an actual factual thing. If you're doing a very bad job at it, better luck next time, I guess.